So welcome back to the channel, Caravan Vlogger. Today's vlog is going to be about caravan towing tips. Now we've been caravanning since 2006 and had various number of caravans and towing cars, so reasonably experienced in these matters, and I know kind of what feels good and what doesn't feel good. So I've got 20 top tips for towing. I can't say that very often. Did I say it right? 20 top tips for towing. Yeah, I should have had less because it would have been easier to say. Anyway, on with the list. So first on the list is your tow car. So pick the right tow car. Now by the right tow car, it's a very subjective thing, although there are very specific things that you need to be aware of. Mainly the weight of the caravan and the tow car. So there's a rule, not a law, it's a rule. It's 85. They call it 85% rule. Well, I call it 85% rule. Other people might call it something else. So the caravan should be no more than 85% the weight of the car. Now this needs, on your behalf, needs a little bit more of a reading up on to see exactly the pros and cons of everything. But putting it basically, you need to make sure the tow car is capable of towing the caravan fully laden, so when you've got all your stuff in it. So the second point is tow bars and tow bar wiring. Now we've had cars where we've purchased the car and had a manufacturer's tow bar fitted, which is our latest car. We've also had a third-party tow bars fitted to a car that obviously doesn't currently have a tow bar. Now what I've always done, and it is a bit more expensive, is I've always got the vehicle specific wiring. I think that's what it's termed, vehicle specific wiring, because you can get cheaper wiring which doesn't do exactly the same as the vehicle specific wiring do. Now what I mean by that is that with a lot of new cars, their wiring is done in such a way that is aware that it's towing. Like our car, you plug it in and it's then aware that obviously there's something on the back, so it can do the lights. It changes the ability of the car so that when it knows it's towing, there's certain things it does, and this is all done through vehicle specific wiring. So ours was factory fitted, so it would have it anyway, but I did have a Audi Q3 that had a third party, a Witter tow bar fitted to, and I think the vehicle specific wiring was almost as much as the tow bar, and probably about, certainly over £100 more than the basic wiring. Now what that gave me is things like it knew when I was reversing, so it would turn off the reversing sensors, a whole bunch of things like that. It also ensures that your warranty is valid. Now it might well be valid with the other wiring, but it definitely is. This is something you need to look at about warranty and vehicle wiring with the tow bar. So number 3 on the list is your pre-towing inspection. Now everybody, I suppose everybody that tows a caravan carries out their inspections. I personally, when I put the tow car on, I do a walk around visibly making sure that doors are shut, windows are shut, lockers are locked, everything's in place. Then obviously there's your lighting check. Now one thing with our car, and one thing the vehicle specific wiring will give you, is your car, if your car knows when the light bulb's gone in the car, as ours does, so you get a little warning on the dashboard. That is also true of caravan lights. Previous car we had, Audi A6, that had a tow bar, and it had the manufacturer's wiring straight from the factory, and we did have a caravan light, rear caravan light, go out, and it came up on the dashboard as if one of the car lights had gone. So have a quick look round and you'd notice that the lamp was out, so replace the bulb. It shouldn't stop you doing your visual check. It's always good. Indicators, brakes, everything. With our car, what I do as well as a second check is that I'll turn the lights on even during the day, so I look in the mirrors and I can see that the little caravan lights, the front lights, have come on, so I know the lights are working. Then obviously you need to check brakes. So check 4 is checking that these wires from the tow bar to the caravan are not in danger of dragging along the ground, or in fact are not so tight that when you turn the car you're going to do some stretching, so you need to be very careful of that. Again, it's all a matter of getting into a habit of checking things. So tip number 5, drain all the water from your caravan. Now in the past I've been tempted to leave water in, certainly in the toilet flush, because when we're driving along you might need a wee and need to flush the toilet, but I'll make sure now that that's drained down, because I did a little bit of research, and 1 litre of water weighs 1 kilogram. Now that's, if you've got obviously 10 litres of water in your flush, that's 10 kilograms, and that's a lot of weight, especially with the toilet is generally, in fact almost exclusively, the toilet's at the back of the caravan, and you don't want, in fact I'll come on to that in soon, you don't want too much weight in the back of the caravan. So drain all your water down before you go. Doesn't take much effort. There's a drain usually under the seat. In fact, I've got, if you look on the channel, I've got a video of how to do all that. So that's the top tip. Just get rid of all the water, as much water as you can in the caravan, because it is heavy. Tip number 6, make sure you distribute the weight evenly in the caravan. Now, good advice is to keep, if you need to keep heavy stuff in the caravan like the awning, try to keep it over the axles, so where your wheels are in the caravan, have a look inside where they are. With our caravan it's sort of in between the fridge and the cooker. We sometimes place the awning there. We try to put it in the boot of the car if we can, but if we can't then we make sure heavy things are as near the centre of the caravan, over the axles as possible. That will certainly help with the stability of the caravan when towing. So then at the front, check your nose weight, make sure you're not too heavy on the front. I know this seems like a lot to do, and there's no need to panic about these things, because like I say, they do come habit after a couple of seasons maybe, and initially it's like, oh my god, what have I got? Excuse the rain if you can hear that. I'm inside. So nose weight, so check your nose weight isn't too heavy. There'll be some information in your car book, your car manual, about how heavy how much downforce can be pushing onto your tow bar. I've done another video of caravan weights which explains a bit more about nose weight. You might want to have a look at that after you've watched this one. So an important thing, where are we? Tip 8. Try not to pack unnecessary items. Again, it's kind of stating the obvious, but we've found over the years, the more you caravan, the more stuff you bring. What I like to do is, before the beginning of every season, I'll take everything out of the caravan and then just take out stuff I don't need. Sometimes you put stuff in there and it never ever gets taken out, so avoid taking unnecessary items, especially avoid putting a lot of stuff in the front where you can't see it, but there's a front chest I've got here under the front window. Try not to stuff those too much of heavy stuff. So tip 9, again on weights, never overload the back of the caravan. Like, we have a rear washroom, and it's very tempting to put a lot of stuff in the shower when travelling. Now what we do, we keep the empty aqua roll in the shower, which doesn't really weigh that much. Other than that, we've just got toiletries and things like that, and toilet paper, and we don't keep awnings and stuff in the back, because if you've got stuff in the back of the caravan when you're towing, you don't want the back swaying. And believe me, I'll get onto this later maybe, but it has happened to us before, and it is a very scary thing. So keep heavy stuff from the back of the caravan. Like I say, keep it, if you have to have a heavy stuff, over the axles. Again, not in the top lockers. Keep it low, and low and near the axle is your friend when stowing. When putting stuff in the caravan, stowing stuff in the caravan. I suppose that works. Number 10, something you should be doing on a regular basis is checking your tyre pressures. Some people have the automatic tyre pressure management system. We do have it, but I've never managed to get it working. Anyway, that's another story. So if you haven't got TPMS, whatever it's called, check your tyre pressures before every trip. Now it's important to know, don't check them when they're hot, so don't check them when you arrive on site, because the tyres will be hot and air's hot expands, and it will seem that there's more pressure than there actually is. Again, check your manuals for your tyre pressures and keep them topped up when you need to. Tip number 11, whilst we're on the wheels, torque wrench. Get yourself a torque wrench and check the torque on the caravan nuts. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say you don't need to check it up. You don't need to check it very often, because that's foolhardy. I do check mine reasonably regularly. I don't check them every time I go away. In the same way I don't check my car wheel nuts every time I go away. Now, because the caravan is sitting still for longer periods, maybe you do need to pay more attention to things like tyres and wheel nuts, but it takes maybe 10 minutes, and again, not every time, but every now and again, just check them. I have checked them once every few months, and you do find that they do come a little bit loose. I mean, not a great deal, but with the torque wrench it's handy, because when you've got the setting and it clicks when you, again, check our channel, I've done a video on a torque wrench somewhere. Number 12 is use wing mirrors, use towing mirrors. Now this is an absolute must, and I can't believe, if you look, in fact, if you get into the habit of doing this, when you look on the motorway and watching caravans coming the other way, the amount of people that don't use towing mirrors is just unbelievable. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. It's you can't see. You have so many. Anyway, don't drive without tow mirrors. I've done it I've done it once or twice, and I've got just to the end of my road, like 200 metres, and again, maybe it's been a stressful hook up, so you've got somebody waiting in the road. So we have a road just at the bottom here. It's only a single track road, but which is used rarely. But you bet your life, as soon as I want to bring caravan off the drive, there's going to be a lorry or 5 cars waiting to pass. So on one occasion, I have forgotten to put the wing mirrors on, driven off down the road, pulled over, put them on, because you can't see. Again, there's 2 types, convex and flat mirrors. If you have a look on our channel again, we have done a video on wing mirrors, whether to use flat or convex. It's kind of a personal choice, but at least I can explain the difference. Now, checking the alignment is a bit of a pain. For me, I put them on, I drive down the road, get to a straight bit of road where I can safely park, so that the caravan, because the angle that I'm on the drive is difficult. But anyway, so basically, for me, there's no easy way of doing it, and Mandy can't really help me, because up a bit, down a bit, so I get in the car, move the wing mirror a bit, get out of the car, move the wing mirror a bit, get back in, and it's just a matter of in and out a few times and get them lined up. Now, you'd think that if you take them off and put them on again, they'd still be lined up, but 9 times out of 10, that absolutely isn't the case. So it is a bit a hassle, but it's a safety reason, so it's really worth doing. So tip number 13, this is an important one. Now, leave plenty of time for your trip. Don't get yourself in a position where you've got to rush and you need to drive faster than you feel comfortable with. It is not easy to. You can get used to it, but it's not an easy thing towing a caravan. And I find anyway, I do need to concentrate more when I'm towing a caravan than when I'm not, because you've got that extra length, extra width. So just take your time, take it easy, plan your trip, and kind of make the journey part of the holiday. That's what we do. We stop regularly, maybe every couple of hours we stop, just to get out and stretch the legs. Especially like when we're going down to South France, we will stop regularly. I mean, it doesn't mean it takes you longer to get there, but you only need 10 minutes just to relax. You're on holiday. So number 13, allow plenty of, when you're on the motorway, allow plenty of time to change lanes. You're probably going at 60 mile an hour, which is the maximum you can go. You're probably going to be overtaking somebody that's doing 57 miles an hour, so it's going to take you a long time to overtake. So, and if you accelerate anyway, you're going to be exceeding the legal speed limit. So again, check your mirrors, don't give it the big swerve out. Do everything measured, predictable, so that other drivers know exactly what you're doing. So extra care on a motorway when changing lanes. That's tip number, where are we? 13. Right, tip 14. This is sometimes a difficult one to do, but do wide turns, but especially in the UK when you're turning left off a road into a junction, or even in fact going right around a roundabout. Make sure you're using your wing mirrors. Make sure your wing mirrors can see your wheels, because it's so easy to do to clip the curb with your tyres. Now, what this will mean is that you'll need to do a wider turn than usual. So you let your car go past the turning a bit before you turn. So a lot later than you would normally turn. Remember, you've got the caravan on the back, so that arc of the caravan, you've got to be clear of the curb. Now, you can scare the life out of drivers of other cars sometimes, because they may not, if they're not particularly on the ball, they're not expecting you to go quite too wide. But make sure you do it, because you'll end up mounting the curb with the caravan wheels, and you don't want to do that, because any amount of damage to the tyres can be done, and you're in all sorts of trouble with them. So sort of leading on from the previous tip about driving carefully, take your turns wide, roundabouts as well. go on the outside kind of lane. What you do have to be careful of though is that if you do take it a bit wider on the roundabout, I find you get people trying to come up on the inside because they can see, maybe they think you're going straight on, but don't leave enough of a gap so that somebody can get through, but leave enough gap so that your caravan isn't going to mount the curb again. So number 15, as I alluded to earlier, my earlier ramble, I kind of covered 3 points in one, but I'm going to carry on regardless. So take your time when driving, don't do over the speed limit. It is 60 for a reason. Now a couple of times I may have gone over the speed limit downhill, or I may be just saying this just to prove a point. I'm saying it to prove a point. You go over 60 and the caravan behaves completely differently. I think I alluded earlier again that we was on our way to Brighton and we're going down the hill. What I normally do, in fact I'll save that for another point. So I was going down the hill, foot off the brake, just coasting, and before I knew it I was doing over 70, and my God, the caravan was swaying. This is the reason we changed our tow car. The caravan was swaying about. So the caravan was swaying, and it's a pretty scary thing. To slow yourself down and you'll get there safely. So number 16, hopefully I'm keeping these numbers up to date. I mean, I might have skipped, but anyway, number 16. Maybe try and travel off peak. We do, most of the time, we travel off peak. If we're going longer distances, we will travel overnight as well. Like if we're going to Cornwall, for instance, maybe take 6 or 7 hours, we might start at like 2 in the morning. Just so that we've got a clean run. There's hardly any traffic, or although actually you do get traffic on motorways, but certainly off peak. Don't go through. We made the mistake once of going through the centre of Bristol, like 5 o'clock in the evening. An absolute nightmare. I think we were going to the Bristol Caravan Club site there, and it takes you kind of through the first part of the city and also leaving as well. You know, cities and caravans, it's not that you can't handle the drive, because you can. However, other people just don't seem to associate caravans being on smaller roads. They can handle them on motorways, I think, but if you're going through a city centre, oh my God, it's an absolute stress city, and that might have been the name of the city. Anyway, stress city, just avoid them. It's just so much easier. Sometimes you can't avoid them and just do the best you can and give everybody space and go slower. But if you can, avoid cities, travel off peak. So the old adage, actually something I might just have made up, but the best time to travel is when everyone else is asleep. And that's certainly true if you're doing longer distances. So number 17, again, I've already said this in a previous one, but there's an extra point to this. So avoid big cities and narrow roads. Now I've got a sat nav. So it's like it's meant to tell you about. You put in the size of the caravan, and it's meant to take you round, or it's meant to avoid narrow roads. And it doesn't always work. What it considers a narrow road isn't what I consider a narrow road. Now, I consider a narrow road a single track road that I can drive down in the caravan, but if something coming the other way, I've got all sorts of problems. Excuse me, I've got all sorts of problems. So I think the sat nav considers a narrow road something that's actually too narrow for the caravan to fit down. So you know, if you're using that kind of sat nav, be careful. And again, this is all down to planning as well. When you're going somewhere, certainly where you haven't been before, wherever. If it's somewhere you haven't been before, then just make sure you know where you're going, especially when you get near to the caravan site you're going to. Tip 18. So I like to drive carefully and smoothly, like unless you're in an emergency situation, no kind of swerving of the steering wheel. One, it makes driving a bit more pleasurable, and secondly, we generally have food and stuff in these cupboards up here, and although they're soft closed, they don't actually lock. So you know, if you've got half a dozen tin of beans in there and you go around a sharp corner, you know, it could come out. We've been fortunate in that, or if you leave a bathroom door open or something, and you know you're swaying around and bang. We've been lucky up to now in that we haven't really had any internal caravan disasters. Yeah, we take a lot of care, make sure everything's stowed away, and we shove tea towels in between plates, and the TV is wrapped in a towel and then put in a cupboard. You know, all that kind of stuff. We try to preempt any movement in the caravan. But if you're driving carefully and slowly, you're generally not going to have a disaster inside your caravan. 19. Be careful when going downhill. The car can get away with you, and something I'd advise is when you're on main roads, if you've got cruise control, put the cruise control on. I put cruise control 60, and I'm not going to break the speed limit, and I'm going to take it easy, and more importantly, I know when I go down the hill, the speed isn't going to creep up. And number 20, which has happened, which is the last point, but it's happened all through this vlog, something I've already mentioned because I don't check my notes and I'm talking off the top of my head. Use cruise control on the motorways. There, I've said it before. So there's 20 tips. Wow. Did you get past number 3 before checking out another video? Hopefully you didn't. If you enjoyed the video, or if you've got any comments, down below, what are some of your tips when towing? I think really getting the right rig, like caravan and car mixture, is one of the most important things initially. We had Sterling Eccles, which are towed perfectly with previous tow cars. We changed the tow car to an Audi A6, and all of a sudden, it's for some reason, and it wasn't the weight of the car, I don't know what it was, but we just lost all confidence in towing on the motorway, overtaking when lorries overtook us, or we were overtaking lorries. Just sometimes when you getting past the lorry, as you get past, the caravan wants to just pull in, and it's something you can preempt and expect. But the Eccles and the Audi A6 was for us such a bad. On paper, it was a good match, but real life, oh my god! And I ended up changing the tow car earlier than I expected to something a bit bigger. The weight of the car was fine, and the new car, heavier, 4x4, it's got built-in wind assist. Wow. So when we now overtake a lorry, we don't hardly any twitch, which gives me more confidence, certainly gives Mandy more confidence when going on holiday. It means you do enjoy your trip a bit more. Anyway, thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe. Somewhere there's a button. Lots more videos planned. Holidays and stuff. We've got plenty of holidays booked up. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.